Hello, welcome to Granada Reports, live with the latest across the northwest.
Hello, on the programme this evening.
A funding crisis for end-of-life care. Bolton Hospice is more than £1 million in debt. Their dire warning echoed by the hospice sector across our region.
If something doesn't happen before the end of this calendar year, then we will have to start to look at redundancy process and have to look at cutting services.
Emotional scenes on the Isle of Man as bikers pay tribute to the rider killed at this year's TT races.
Berlin, the backdrop for the Northwest cyclists going for gold at the Special Olympics.
You know my baby makes me smile.
Striking a chord for climate change, the former mill where the music will soon be powered by running water.
And it's been a rather unsettled summer solstice for some of us, but what does the rest of the week have in store? I'll be back later with the weather forecast.
First, they care for our loved ones in their darkest hours and bring comfort to those left behind. But one hospice in the northwest says a funding black hole may force them to cut their vital beds by 40%.
Yeah, tonight Bolton Hospice has issued a desperate plea to the government to step in and help them before it's too late. They're already struggling with a £1.2 million deficit.
And they're not the only ones, with other hospices in the region saying they too fear a looming crisis. Anna Yosef has this special report.
Do you spend a lot of time in the garden?
No, that it's nice, yes. Yeah, obviously it was raining before, but yeah.
And you've got your fruit trees up there.
Yeah.
They're looking good.
I know.
When Carol was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, she was given 2 years to live. She hopes when the time comes, she'll end her days at Bolton Hospice.
Because I'm on my own, even more so. It might be different if I had a partner or husband, but I know I will be looked after here, and people, your relatives can come visit anyway, so...
This is where you'd like to end your days, yeah?
I hope to, yeah, peacefully. You can just come and be yourself. You don't have to explain yourself to anybody else because everybody's in a similar situation. They've got other diagnoses, and you can come into the craft room and do some craft. And if you're not feeling like that day, you can just sit and be and just listen or talk. So yeah, it's just a joyous place to be, really.
Oh yeah, they can't do enough for you.
No, yeah.
It's good.
Mark has Parkinson's and has been coming to the hospice for 6 years. Pain is part of his daily life, but the care and company he gets here makes it bearable.
Well, it takes my mind off what I've got, and I meet loads of new people. It's so relaxing. You know, you can ask for anything you want here, and if they've not got it, just go out for it. I don't want to lose this place. It's like family.
But the hospice is warning it may have to cut its services and beds by 40% unless the government steps in. Running costs are £5 million a year, and its current deficit is £1.2 million.
There are more than 200 hospices across the UK caring for around 300,000 adults and children every year. Hospices typically rely on charitable donations for around 70 to 80% of their running costs. But with rising costs, they're having to face some really difficult decisions.
If something doesn't happen before the end of this calendar year, then we will have to start to look at redundancy process and have to look at cutting services. So time is of the essence, and we need the government and we need the Department of Health to understand the impact on all of the hospices across the country, particularly the hospices in GM, that there's a disaster looming. We haven't got a cost of living crisis, we've got a cost of dying well crisis.
This week, the MP for Bolton South East highlighted the hospice's struggle and called for more support for the sector.
But if hospices have to reduce or close down, that's going to place pressure on the NHS and into our hospitals as well. At the time, because of rising cost of living, the local community is not able to give as much money. So I would ask the Minister to make an exception in these cases, hospice, and grant them the money.
This is one of our patient rooms. As you can see, It's very spacious.
The call from Bolton Hospice is echoed across our region. The government needs to change how hospices are funded, or they may have to think the unthinkable and start cutting back on care. Anna Yosef, ITV News, Bolton.
Well, joining us now is Karen Halston, who's the Chief Executive at Willow Wood Hospice in Ashton-under-Lyne. Karen, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. I mean, we just heard that then, cost of dying well crisis. It's just unthinkable, isn't it? I mean, did that ring true for you tonight? What's your reaction after seeing that report from Bolton?
Absolutely, it does ring true, and not only for ourselves at Willow Wood, but for all hospices in the UK at this moment in time.
It is a growing crisis, and do you think that's where we're heading?
It is a growing crisis, and listening to Lee then, when she talks about this year and what we will have to do at the end of it if we don't get some support, it again rings true for all hospices.
Well, you need to find £2.8 million a year. That is a colossal sum of money, especially after we've been through COVID and now the cost of living crisis. I mean, how are you managing?
With great difficulty. In COVID, yeah, it had a huge impact, and the government at that particular point, stepped in and did with some funding. But since that time, it's been really difficult in terms of fundraising. Events are not as well supported, and we do get a lot of donations. Without our community, we really wouldn't be where we are today. But actually, those donations, as much as we have as many donations, they are lower because there is a crisis out in the community as well.
Karen, we have had a statement from the Department of Health and Social Care. Let me share this with you. They say, we have made over £400 million available to hospices since 2020 to secure and increase additional NHS capacity and enable hospital discharge, ensuring hospices can continue to deliver care to those who need it. Now, that sounds like a lot of money, but I'm guessing that is split between more than 200 hospices across the country, and I'm guessing that still leaves you with a problem.
Absolutely, and what we have to bear in mind there is that money was provided in 2020 in COVID, and at that point, whilst we were continuing services, everything else closed down. There was no fundraising, our shops closed, everything closed, so there was, in terms of raising money, it was impossible.
Are you and other hospices looking for a short-term fix to sort this problem out now, or are you looking for a complete rethink over how hospices are funded?
We need a complete rethink. Yes, now, short term, we are desperate as well, but in the long term, we need we need sustainable funding.
You do? Well, so many of our viewers will find it hard to understand, like we do as well, really, how you can be referred from the NHS into a hospice. Yet hospices are largely funded by people fundraising. How does that work?
Well, our referrals don't just come through the NHS. Our referrals can be made by people direct, through GPs, through the community services. There are various ways which people can be referred in, but the impact of any closure that may happen, as Lee discussed then, would impact actually on the NHS, and it will also impact on patients and the families out in the community as well if the hospices weren't there.
How do you feel when you think about your patients at your hospice and how they would get through the most difficult time in their lives without your help?
It's really sad to even imagine what they would be going through. There is an ethos in hospices in the care that's given, and it just doesn't bear thinking about what they would go through.
Well, Karen, you do amazing work. Thank you so much for taking time to come and talk to us today. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, next tonight, a permanent memorial's been unveiled to a man from Liverpool who was murdered in a terror attack in Reading.
Yeah, 36-year-old James Furlong and two of his friends died within minutes of being stabbed in Forbury Park in June 2020. He'd been a much-loved teacher at King David's School in Wavertree before moving down south.
The unveiling took place on the 3rd anniversary of the attack yesterday evening. James' father was there and said the victims must never be forgotten.
Natalie Verney reports.
The sun shone and the music played. It was hard not to be moved by this display of solidarity from the people of Reading. for 3 men so needlessly killed. 3 years ago, James Furlong, Joe Ritchie Bennett and David Wales were sat relaxing and enjoying the sunshine when they were stabbed to death by an Islamic extremist. Although years have passed, the pain lingers on, which is why a permanent memorial was unveiled yesterday by the mothers of those who died.
There's a mixture of pride and emotion today. Obviously, it's very difficult for us when we return to the gardens, because at the end of the day, it's where David, James and Joe met their deaths, which that part is sad, but it's nice that, you know, we come here and all the people from Reading are basically, and they're being honoured, especially with the monument that they have. It's somewhere, you know, it's put them into the history of the Reading community, and it's a Forbury Gardens.
The memorial was made in close collaboration with the families. Along with their names, it says "United Forever. Never will we walk by without remembering you." And that's what the families hope, that this will keep their memories alive and provide a place where people can pay their respects.
After the unveiling, the friends and families of the victims attended a private memorial at St Lawrence Church before joining the public for a minute's silence in the gardens. As dusk settled, 3 beams of light shone into the night sky in memory of James, Joe and David and everybody affected. Natalie Verney, ITV News.
OK, well, moving on to other news this evening, and a £50,000 reward is now being offered to help police catch the killers of 2 men at a party in Manchester. Junior Ajose and Sharif Tool were shot dead at a community barbecue in June 2020. Greater Manchester Police say they've got a dedicated team working round the clock on the case. The reward has been made available for anyone who has details which lead to the successful conviction of the killer.
More teenage girls are self-harming and being diagnosed with eating disorders since the pandemic. That's according to a new study from the University of Manchester. It's thought the rise could be due to social isolation and unhealthy social media habits. Experts are calling for more to be done to improve early access to services.
Well, parents of North West children with special educational needs have travelled to London to stage a protest outside Parliament. They're calling for a major reform of the system. Many mums and dads say it takes too long for their children to get the support they need. They're also campaigning to change the way school places are allocated to children with special needs and disabilities.
There's children that would thrive in a specialist environment being forced into mainstream under the banner of inclusivity, but is it really inclusive to force a child into a setting where the staff aren't trained and they physically don't have the resources they need to be able to teach those children?
OK, still to come on the programme.
Opening their arms to the armed forces, how Salford's rugby league stars welcomed the veterans before facing the Warriors.
And it was a beautiful sunrise on today, the summer solstice in Liverpool and lots of other parts of the northwest. But what does the rest of the week have in store? I'm back later with a full weather forecast.
Well, next to some emotional scenes on the Isle of Man for the funeral of the Spanish motorcycle racer Raúl Torres Martinez.
The 46-year-old was killed in a crash during the TT races 2 weeks ago. He was the only competitor to lose their life at this year's event, but it's the 267th fatality in the history of the TT.
Well, his hearse was taken on one final lap of the TT course, followed by hundreds of bikers. Our Isle of Man reporter Joshua Stokes reports.
One final lap for one final goodbye. Hundreds gathered at the TT grandstand to remember Raúl, riding alongside him for the last time.
I think it's only fit and proper to show the man our respects for what he achieved and what he's done.
Simply that, to pay respects to somebody brave enough to go round here. They're all heroes to me, always have been since I was a kid.
Yeah, absolute respects to the guy. He'll never be forgotten, never.
My name is Raúl Torres. Soy español, I'm from Spain.
The 46-year-old made his TT debut in 2017. He was loved widely by the racing community and by all who knew him best.
He was the most hardworking person I ever met, but everybody loved him because they could see how professional he was, how dedicated he was, how good person he was, and how extremely talented he was.
He was and remains the fastest Spaniard around the mountain course, even setting his own personal record that very morning. But an accident in the afternoon's race left him paying the ultimate price.
He did what he loved to do, so he was an adult, was his passion. He fully understood the risk and he loved that. So I will say a hard worker, dedicated and extremely professional in everything he did.
A sense of duty felt by all at the TT as Raul received his final flag and crossed the line for the last time. Joshua Stokes, ITV News in the Isle of Man.
A very sad day on the Isle of Man. Well, next to some football news, and Manchester City have agreed a fee with Chelsea to sign the Croatian midfielder Mateo Kovacic. The former Real Madrid star will cost the treble winners up to £30 million. The deal isn't quite done yet. City will now have to agree personal terms with the player.
All right, well, now this week is Armed Forces Week, when the nation comes together to recognise and celebrate, and rightly so, the incredible work of our servicemen and women.
Yes, this coming weekend, Salford Red Devils Rugby League Club will use their home fixture against Wigan to roll out the red carpet to members of the armed forces.
And some veterans were invited along to watch the Red Devils train earlier today. David Chisnell was there too.
Let's go. There's no holding back for Salford Red Devils as they build up to a big weekend both on and off the pitch. Sunday's Super League fixture with Wigan Warriors will be the culmination to a whole host of events at the AJ Bell Stadium celebrating Armed Forces Week. And today, past and present members of the Army and Navy got to watch training and meet the team.
Yeah, it's really important, you know, it's good for the community also, and obviously in the remembering the fallen soldiers that served in the wars. The war's been a massive factor in my life. My great-granddad served in the World War II as a parachute trooper. Yeah, so I'm quite big myself on the history of the war, and I'm really grateful, obviously, to be and having my granddad in my life.
If the military is going to grow, and we're going to get the future youth involved with military, these events of thanking the military and getting the local communities together and celebrating Armed Forces Week is really special.
Being from up north, I've said rugby league is just such a big sport, and being in the military, getting this opportunity to obviously come out here, watch the boys train, and obviously just be a part of what it's going to be on Sunday. Just a big opportunity.
Hi, Paul. Good seeing the kit, mate. Well, Salford have teamed up with the Veterans Garage to put on the day. The charity hub is based just over the road from the club's stadium at Barton Aerodrome. Set up in 2016 to offer support to veterans 7 days a week.
I've seen my son. He went out as a young guy, come back, and he has these ups and downs, like a lot of them do. And it's just there's the 7 day week support. If they want to come in and have a chat with the mates, it's just having that connection.
It saved my life, it really did. Yeah, I was really low when I came here. Obviously, I'm in a little bit better place now, and all I want to do is help the veterans.
With the help of the vets, Salford want to make history on Sunday. They hope their offer of forces for a £5 and free shuttles from the Trafford Centre for anyone with a matchday ticket will help set a new home record attendance of more than 8,000.
We've got a shooting range, we've got a climbing frame, the armed forces are here with tanks and guns, and the Red Devils are dropping the match ball in from 20,000 feet. Hopefully it lands on the pitch and not on Barton Bridge, but there you go. And in between it all, we've actually got a really good rugby league game against Wigan Warriors. It's really important that we recognise the people and a lot of people who gave their lives to protect the freedoms that we appreciate day on day.
Well, this is set to be the club's biggest armed forces event ever, with Sunday being a celebration of Super League and our super servicemen and women.
Big smiles.
David Chisnell, ITV News, Salford.
That's going to be quite an afternoon, isn't it, on
Sunday?
Sunday?
It certainly is, yeah.
Well, next to our coverage of the Special Olympics, which are taking place in Berlin. And today we're looking at the cycling.
Well, this year Team GB has 7 athletes taking part, including James Huntington from Lancaster and Milena Optus from Stockport.
Our reporter Catherine Walker spent the day with them.
The next 3 riders
Against the backdrop of Brandenburg Gate, it's time for Niall to put his training into action.
It's an honour, and I'm really proud as well. And the training's been going superb.
Next up, Ben Fye got the opportunity to cycle by Berlin's iconic landmarks.
Go TV! Go TV!
Cheered on by his fans.
I'm feeling great. And then also, absolutely brilliant. The weather was very good. And then, yeah, really all great.
Niall and Ben Fye are part of a 7-strong team representing Great Britain in cycling.
Brilliant, Ella, brilliant.
Coach Michelle says she couldn't be prouder.
It makes you smile, it makes you cry, because they are so lovely. They're just such careful and considerate people. And then on the track, they've been amazing. They've been really dedicated and on fire.
And there's no one more dedicated than Dom. Watching in the stands, he's eager for his turn on the track.
I am well focused, looking forward to going on this ride, and so I'll be looking forward to going on the track and then just do my best.
It's a challenge in the 30-degree heat, but Milena from Stockport isn't fazed.
I like cycling because cycling is really fun and I don't really get full, but it can make you a little bit sweaty, but it doesn't matter if you get sweaty because you could drink lots of water. And cycling is actually fun as well because it's fantastic and it makes me happy and joyful.
And it's that emotion that makes it all worthwhile for head coach Tim.
It's amazing. I've never experienced anything like it. They've shut down the centre of Berlin for our athletes. That's what I'm talking about, inclusion. It's the pride of my life.
The impact of these games on the coaches and athletes can't be underestimated. And these memories at Brandenburg Gate will last a lifetime. Catherine Walker, ITV News in Berlin.
Yeah, shutting down the centre of Berlin, quite right too. Very glad to hear that. Well, good luck to everyone competing in the Special Olympics. Now, if you were watching last night, you will remember that we met Poppy Wood-Wright from Crewe. And we have some good news because our superstar, waving here at the camera, you'll see her in just a sec, won a gold medal in the gymnastics. She did well, didn't she?
She did well. Let's hope she's not the last from the Northwest to bring home a gold. Now then, it's always nice to bring you news of our region leading the fight against climate change.
It is, but I think this may well be a first. Get ready for what may well be the first time ever that we've reported on live music being powered by water. And we're not talking singing in the shower, are we?
No, we're not. This might sound a bit unusual, but this is a serious breakthrough. It's all going to be happening soon at a former textile mill at Mosley in Greater Manchester.
And our reporter and musician in residence, Tim Scott, has been to investigate.
We're going to be installing a turbine down here, and we're going to pipe the water from the top there into this top part there.
A novel way to power a music venue. John Shaw demonstrates how the Vale Arts Centre in Mosley will use a water-powered generator in this nearby stream to make electricity for local gigs.
So how this is going to work is fairly straightforward. The generator will be in the stream. It will spin through the power, the force of the water. It will generate the electricity, and then the water from the little stream and the generator just 20 yards away will power the live music here in the Vale. Take it away, chaps.
If my baby was a song, she'd be the sweetest song.
The generator will power the once-a-month live music gigs by the likes of the Buffalo Brothers here. The scheme has been a labour of love for the local community who've been involved in designing the generator.
I've learned lots of things about engineering, generating energy and things like that. Stuff I haven't done since I was at school, really. It's really good because it's an old mill as well. There's an old mill yard, so it started off the gardens and that's derelict, but we can build something better. We can make life better for everybody who lives here.
It's a motor off a hoverboard.
Wow,
that's the tyre. We're taking the hover off there.
Yeah.
So
this is the generator.
This is going to be the generator.
The team got creative, using anything that came to hand to build the generator, and when it's running, it looks set to make the venue the first of its kind. So is this going to be the UK's first water-powered band venue?
As far as we know, we've done some research, we couldn't find another one, and that's the aim, to get that gig venue running on water.
It's hoped that other venues and community groups will take inspiration from what's been achieved here. The water-powered gigs at the Vale in Mossley will be up and running come September. Tim Scott, ITV News.
We're trying to think of some appropriately named acts that could be powered by water. Just give us a couple of seconds. Here's the weather with Jo.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thank you. Very good evening to you. The humid theme will continue through the rest of this week. Quite unsettled conditions weather-wise. We've already seen a few showers today. Quite a few more to come tomorrow for the northwest. Interspersed with warm sunshine, a humid feel. And by night, pretty uncomfortable for sleeping. We're pulling up warm air from the south, plenty of moisture in it though, so we're seeing these showers being triggered off, and low pressure is around. Out to the west, increasingly breezy conditions into this weekend, and knocking on the door of the west of the UK, more rain to move in for Saturday and Sunday. Back to this evening, showers will die away, and like last night, some low cloud and mistiness will tend to reform in the Irish Sea around the Isle of Man and for coastal areas before dawn. Other than that, very quiet, dry, long clear spells, and pretty warm in our towns and cities at around 14 or 15 degrees tonight. On to tomorrow. First of all, the sun times. It's rising tomorrow morning at 4:40, setting at 9:46. Tomorrow, a dry start for many places. Low cloud and mistiness in the Irish Sea once more. That will lift. As you can see, a few showers already first thing in the morning for the Peak District, the Pennines. And with the warmth of that sunshine, quite quickly before lunchtime, showers getting out across the whole of the patch. Some of these heavy, slow moving, containing some thunder. There's very little breeze around to push them on. 25 Celsius tomorrow, so it's feeling very warm in the sunnier spells. And of course, further west, a little drier through the afternoon. All of those showers peter out tomorrow night. Looking ahead though to the end of the week, it does look a good deal more unsettled with wet and windy conditions moving in from the west into the weekend, remaining muggy and very warm by night.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV pollen count.
And if you're a hay fever sufferer, the last couple of weeks have been miserable. Unfortunately, grass pollen levels remain very high. So through the rest of this week here in the northwest, you'll have to take care. Bye-bye for now.
OK, we've got some. Billy Ocean.
Aqua.
Katrina and the Waves.
The Water Boys.
That's a good one. Wet, Wet, Wet.
And Oasis. I think we can take that. We've got too much time on our hands, haven't we? Good night.
Thanks. How sad are we?